This podcast is recorded on Aboriginal land. We pay our respects to elders past and present and recognise that sovereignty was never ceded. Welcome back to the Radical Online Leftist Pipeline podcast. I'm Mitch Alexander.
I'm Tom Taneke.
I'm Celeste Little.
And I'm Purple Fingers.
And joining us this week, we've got one of the organisers, actually the media person for the Naarm Invasion Day rally. Oh, it's Celeste Little.
Special guest.
Because this podcast is a podcast of fucking legends.
We don't fucking need guests. You want to be a guest on here? Prove that you have something that we don't, mate. You know what I mean? You got to go through all four of us to get into this fucking podcast.
Celeste, you are part of the organising crew for the Invasion Day rally, doing media for it. Fucking hit us with it.
Yeah. And look, I'm just going to begin with my rant, which is that Invasion Day this year, there's low energy. We're being attacked from all sides. The attack started, as we mentioned on a previous edition. Sorry, my dog has just started digging under my desk as we speak, so she's clearly irritated about this.
Sides.
Attacks on all sides. Got the camp dog digging away because she's just had enough and she wants to burrow under the earth. But yeah, the attacks at all sides started in early December with the whole shit fight that we talked about already, which was the media that came out about a chain of pubs that weren't going to, or were cancelling Australia Day. So, the toing and froing's been going on for weeks now. The hatred online has been going on for weeks. Proving my point that I've made so many times in so many articles now, it is clear that the Australian public had no idea what they voted for in the referendum in 2003, because so many of them are just out there being vile and saying in every single comment thread anything to do with Aboriginal people, particularly Invasion Day, we voted no. I don't think that was whether or not Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people can protest on the anniversary of our invasion.
Yeah, I didn't see that on the question.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that wasn't going to be a part of the Constitution, folks. But the main things that people need to remember, and I do have two opinion pieces coming out this week. Somewhere in this lack of energy, and the lack of energy is being felt by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, particularly those of us organising across the country to get another Invasion Day rally up. We're fighting a very hostile public at the moment. Yeah. We're fighting a hostile media. It is more so than what it has been. And we've been doing this for a long time. And when I say a long time, what I mean is that there has been a constant history of protests on the 26th of January since 1938 with the Day of Mourning protest. And by constant, and this is one of the opinion pieces that I've actually got coming out, I mean that, if it hasn't been Day of Mourning, it's been gatherings. If it hasn't been gatherings, it's been the Tent Embassy. It's been the Tent Embassy reenactment. It's been, the Survival Day activities, and it's been the rally itself. We have been constant. Australia Day, on the other hand, only became a gazetted public holiday in the 90s. I was a teenager when that happened. So I have been engaging in political activity on this day for a lot longer than it's been a public holiday. And for that reason, I just want to get on the front foot, encourage people, the rallies have grown. One of the best things we get about it, I said this in a chat the other day, but one of the most amazing things that we get out of it and how it helps with the healing is that when you're standing at that intersection of Flinders and Swanston and you're looking down the street and people are still coming around the corner at Burke Street and they're doing it for about a good 20 minutes once you've gotten there, to see all those people walking with you on a day when this, which is, immediately preceded by weeks of hostility and weeks of garbage talk on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. There's just something really magic in seeing all those people walk with you. That's one of the biggest things I get out of it. And the reminder that in going to these, we are but one small part in the historical chain, one small link in the historical chain, contributing to the ongoing resistance against colonisation, against white nationalism and the white Australia policy mentality that still very much permeates this country.
And Celeste, so you said that you get this nascent sense from your random fucking Maureen from Bendigo, Ken from Ballarat around the nation on social media that they say to you, "We voted no," and they're saying, "Oh, I thought I voted to not ever hear from you again." Is that's the sort of the...
That's exactly what they're stating. And the thing is that, in the lead up to the referendum, I think some of us were saying out there, regardless of what the outcome was going to be, that the entire process just gave a whole heap of the undercurrent racists in this society that we live in, and you don't have to scratch far to find them. The license to just go out there and hammer Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So, in a way,
It really lit a fire up under anti-Aboriginal racists, didn't it?
It did.
It gave them many, many good talking points and that kind of thing. Yeah. And you just want to say to those people, that referendum result didn't Thanos click an entire people out of existence, and as you said, you're about to attend, or you're helping to organise a huge event that's, in phenomenally large rallies, and they've been going at that scale for many years now. You can't get rid of that during the political, just due to these political turns from last year owing to the referendum. But what has changed is that this right-wing anti-Indigenous media apparatus has grown so handsomely. They've got the rhetoric, and they've obviously got a politician who's willing to repeat that rhetoric in the form of Peter Dutton. He's making that one of his content pillars, if you will, for this year, isn't he?
Oh, totally. And, then you've got a conservative think tank like the IPA putting out their survey responses saying that nearly 70% of Australians don't want to change the date. And, I've been going to Invasion Day events for a very long time, and I can't ever remember them being explicitly because we wish to change the date of, when genocide and invasion is celebrated in this country. The day's about Indigenous resistance. It's about Indigenous resistance and survival, and it's about marking that and walking in the steps of those who marked it before us. But so in Melbourne, obviously, 10 o'clock on Sunday, we're gathering on Spring Street. That's where you'll find us. There are rallies all across the country. We can actually probably, I'm just telling the rest of the podcast what we're doing, but we could probably put a link in that links
100%.
to all of the rallies that are going on across the country. If rallies aren't your cup of tea, I recommend going to Share the Spirit Festival or the Day of Morning Dawn service thing that will be happening on the day. There's plenty of Survival Day concerts and gatherings that are happening across the country, and there's also been a call out to contribute financially. Reparations, not celebration. So find an Indigenous-owned organisation that's accepting donations and make reparations. Help them continue the good work that they're doing all across the country, whether it's Dhargua with deaths in custody, or it's Bush Mob with, connecting kids and trying to keep them out of trouble in the desert. There's just so many worthy organisations out there. And there's so many ways that you contribute. But for me, would love to see everyone's smiling and slightly angry faces on Sunday morning, ready to chant and march and show that, not only do we support the ongoing resistance in the face of the ongoing colonial project, but that we're actually happy and proud to be part of an ongoing resistance movement.
What does it feel like? Because you've been involved with this for quite a while. With that sort of like that dichotomy, like you said, like, smiling but slightly angry faces, and like, we're fucked off. That like at many different levels, many of us for many reasons are really fucking, angry, traumatized, upset, fucked off, all of it. But at the same time, like these mass movements, this collective action, it does have like a bubbling excitement to it. It does have sort of an enervating, there's an energy to it. What does it feel like being like having to just hold them both in, the weeks leading up to it and then the days and weeks after it?
It's exhausting. Sometimes it's exhausting in that really, really so good way where it's giving you power. Sometimes it's exhausting in that I don't want to get the hell out of bed because they're doing it again. But it's kind of, we get to the other side of Invasion Day every year and we just kind of all collapse in a heap, any of those of us who are close to the organising circle, because it is tiring work. It is,
Yeah, I bet.
You're dealing with a community's collective trauma while you're trying to inspire a population to actually see things differently. And then there's all of the mechanical, bits and pieces that go into a rally, like, oh gosh, the first big one, for example, the sheer stress of realizing just how many people had turned up. I talked about that surprise as well, and not having the sound for that. Like you can imagine what the panic was in that moment. It is actually something that just takes the wind out of your sails. But again, though, the healing that is in seeing that many people walk with you and take that stand in the face of all of this garbage is just something powerful and extraordinary. So even with the exhaustion, I don't think I'd want to get rid of that.
Just putting it off for a year because too tired. I don't want to. Which again, like that is the best outcome for Sky News, the IPA, and the rest of it. Just it's too big a deal. Don't worry about it. Oh, people, people don't like it. It's divisive, which sort of gets into the next sort of like, I don't know if this is a question or just, an extra bit I'd love to hear you talk about. But like you mentioning as well that obviously this isn't just about like, can we please just change the date we celebrate genocide to a new date, please? It's not that at all. But it's also, I think, like even for progressives, I know when I was much younger as too, it's this idea that like it's about the invasion, which has happened in the past. And it's this thing of like, well, this day we don't want to celebrate it because all we want to do is recognize that something bad has happened in the past. And I think a lot of people need to sort of not just know intellectually, but internalize sort of what you said before, that like this is also about continual white nationalism in this country is propped up by the myths of invasion, the myths of colonialism. It's not just a protest or a rally about the past. It is a very active and important protest for everything that is happening right now. The shit that we're seeing overseas. We're recording Tuesday 21st. We'll get into what fucking happened in America today. It's all part of the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that one thing that people need to grapple with is that colonization isn't a been and done thing. It's an ongoing project. It actually happens to us every single day. Whether it's trying to access things like institutions and having all the rules against you, or it's here's a good example that we see over and over again. Every single wave of new migration that comes in, and the fact that because there's some sort of other that white Australia isn't comfortable with, it will reinforce their terra nullius ideas on another set of people, because it's never actually sorted out the terra nullius ideas that it had back in 1901. We haven't had and we haven't had treaties in this country, so there's been no agreement that has actually been made from the First Peoples to with the colonizers in how we move forward and what sort of arrangements need to take place in order to make this a more equitable society. The reinforcement of languages such as English every single day is a reinforcement of the fact that this colonizer language is the most important thing in the world. And the fact that this is, we always talk about Australia being a multicultural country, but there is nothing multicultural about Australia. It's a monocultural society that has people of a lot of different cultures living here, and they are unable to fully contribute in their own cultural ways unless it's people can order a meal or something like that. People cannot go beyond that because Australia is still not dealing with its own race politics. So
like the normative race politics of Australia has everyone routinely go through this fucking merry-go-round of being subjected to this scrutiny. You get this sort of white bastion in the centre looking at everyone that came before them, obviously Indigenous people far before them as being not of here, whilst scrutinising everyone that came after them as being not of here as well. And it's just like they're constantly shooting out in either direction. Yeah,
it's some Yosemite Sam action. That's what just jumped in my head when you said that. But it's from the citizenship test to the why are we having an Indigenous round in football and the booing of goods, like this stuff just keeps happening. So here's a way that we can actually acknowledge that this stuff keeps happening and make a stand about how we want a collective future, because that's what Invasion Day is. We keep talking about the collective, the bringing together the minorities to make a majority. This is one very visible way in which people can reinforce that message and reinforce it in such a powerful way.
Yeah, they're big, beautiful events, They really, really are. They're enormous things, It's up there with only a couple of Iraq War, anti-Iraq War rally and work choices back in the day. It's those rallies that are so big that, as you said before, Celeste, you can just turn around and you can see blocks upon blocks of people behind you. But for all that, I have found them to be at once very energised, but also extremely chill and family-friendly events, like the level of coordination, the amount of marshals, certainly in the past, I'm not sure about lately, but the amount of marshals who volunteer to keep things operating smoothly and that kind of thing, it's a very... it's got a real vibe to it to attend on a day, and I really can't recommend it to anyone that's sitting on the fence. If you're listening to this, I'd be surprised if you're listening to this and you haven't been to 50 of them. But I would be surprised. But if you haven't, you really need to start getting along, because even when it's an event of that scale, it's every single number that makes the difference, I think, for events like this, when you're trying to make a big statement. I spent many years, I don't live in Melbourne these days, but I spent many years sort of playing like an autonomous cell of people, contributing in cohort with many, many other cells and groups of people playing, I suppose, security for the rally, and I was helping out with looking around for dead shits and fascists. And I located them many times. I've had many, finding little shitheads at the very margins of these enormous heaving rallies, multi-rallies, and sort of ejecting them. I've grabbed the occasional phone and sent it flying off down the alley. I remember standing outside sometimes I used to go into that little hotel at the what's the
Young and Jackson's?
Young and Jackson's, but they'd stay the fuck inside there because there's a fucking million people out the front, and there'd be fascists in there sort of having a look out, but they definitely don't come out, except for one or two ones who thought they weren't known would come out. And I do have a distinct memory of standing there after a lengthy day of patrolling with Sean Bedlam, Ezekiel Ox and people like that, and Ezekiel sort of loudly going to me, going, "You'd have to be a real fucking cunt to be a fascist and be here, wouldn't you?" Basically yelling it into the back of this guy's head until he sort of turned around. It's not their day. And we have seen some of them try to do some things because in Melbourne, everyone's got to fucking do. All these assholes have to always fucking do something, put their face in a fucking video camera, don't they? It's just in the fucking water. But they never manage to overwhelm these enormous rallies because they're like a syringe drop of milk in the ocean. You know what I mean? Like it's a very enormous event, you know. So I certainly, you wouldn't worry about these fuckheads, that's for sure. There's simply too many fucking people.
But the thing is, like, that's not inevitable. And so that's something I want to celebrate is that, like, Celeste, the work that you and everyone else has done has meant that that's the case. If no one was doing it, there wouldn't be tens of thousands of people on the street. Like that's
the momentum of space,
And the thing is, it's too easy to make it feel like, oh, the Invasion Day rally, inevitable, here they go again. It's like, no, it's a concerted fucking effort, and it started like that, and it's like you said, a continuation of that work. But it's fucking work. You have done it, Celeste. Like I'm very fucking humbled to be on a podcast with you. Just it's
fucking nice.
Because you've managed to create something, be part of something that has fascists going, oh, I'll just sit this one inside.
Yeah, maybe today's not my day.
Yeah. That is amazing. That's, you know, despite where it's like the necessity of it, it is still something immensely commendable to be fucking doing. So, you know, obviously if I wore hats off to everyone that's doing it because it's, again, and it is so much labor that, you know, the very fucking least is we could show up. And Tom, to your point as well, with the weekly Palestine rallies as well, some of the heat that's been in Melbourne too, and Celeste, like you mentioned, I can't imagine the exhaustion Aboriginal Australians are feeling, especially after the fucking referendum, all that shit. It has been easy, it seems, in the last little while to just like, oh, just get to the next one. I'll do the next one. It's all good. And so I don't think anyone listening to this has never been to one before. But if you were thinking maybe not this one, fucking you're getting to this one if you listen to this podcast.
Yeah, no, I'd say get to this one, you know, stand for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, continue the movement for Palestinian liberation, because they're marching alongside us as they do every single other year too. You know, so same with the Loud Jew Collective and all those people, like they always organise their contingents and come along. And that's one of the most powerful things. There's always been these incredible little groups of people that rock up year after year in their contingent to be there. But yeah, come along, make noise. We'll always need people to get on a megaphone and help the chants move along the group because it's a big group. So make as much noise as you can. Bring water, bring sunscreen. You know, if you're one of those types that burns easily, which I'm not, but some of yous are.
Sensing a bit of shade there.
All of us looking real bashful for a second.
Wish I could sense a bit of shade when out in the middle of the fucking day. It's jealous. I'm like Gollum. You know what I mean? I go from like veiny white, sort of translucent through to pink sort of shade and then back again. So you're just baking out in the middle of these fucking blocks. Yeah, man, you need a fucking parasol or something if it's really hot on those days. Right?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a 30-degree. So bring water, bring sunscreen, bring, you know, the more megaphones we actually have there too. If there's any problems, if there's health issues or something, it means that people can actually reach out quicker. So come along, make noise. Be there. Looking forward to seeing you.
You've been doing this for a very long time, and I was wondering what you personally, not as like a representative of anyone, but if this were to continue for another 10 years, for example, the Invasion Day rally, what would you dream of it looking like on this day, 10 years from now, kind of thing?
Look, I'd hope that it's still going. So we're still marking the beginning of Indigenous resistance and, you know, and the continuation of Indigenous survival. But we've actually gotten to a point where if treaties haven't been negotiated, then they're well in the process and this country is coming to an agreement. So instead of, you know, a protest, it's more of a celebration that just goes on for several city blocks. To see it morph in that way would be an incredible win in my book.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, like an Independence Day kind of vibe.
Yeah. Like, you know, I've argued many times, if they changed the date of Australia Day, I would still be marching on the 26th of January because that's the beginning of invasion and we're marking the resistance. So I think that we'd still mark that resistance, but I think that the tone of it might change a little bit because we're in a more collaborative society, hopefully, in 10 years' time. God almighty, in 20 years' time. Come on, Australia.
Give it 75, Lynn.
Okay, so we'll dig me up every single year to wheel me out Weekend and Bernie style when this is, sorted.
You'll never rest, Celeste. You'll never get a rest, you know?
That's a really good fucking point too. You mentioned how, you know, Australia Day was only made the proper national public holiday it was, like, in our lifetime. Like, it was at 93 or 94, I think. Howard made it that date to counter the fact that you're marking the start of invasion. Like that, it's very easy to have it around the wrong way. To sort of say, well, you're protesting on Invasion Day. It was a deliberate, calculated move because Howard was stuck on this black armband view of history where everything's too dour and we need to celebrate stuff that we've done, like, I don't know, solar panels.
Quick correction on that. It was actually Keating Hall, I believe, that put that in place. Howard was the one. Yeah, Howard was the one who reinforced it because he saw the culture wars as a massive opportunity for him.
Oh, another win for Labor.
Chalk it up.
You're also, this is also just sort of my hobby horse as well, but you're doing media for this rally. You're, you know, the media, sort of one of the media people.
Yeah, we've got a team of us. So
So one of, So what would you like, how would you like media companies to report on this, or what questions do you wish they were asking that they never do?
I wish they'd ask anything other than changing the date. So, you know, if they want to ask us about the history of resistance and these amazing people that went before us and why it is that we continue, then that would be great. Oh, God, what was the rest of your question, Mitch? I just got myself stuck in there.
I reckon, from my recollection, Celeste would probably like it, correct me if I'm wrong, Celeste, if they just printed verbatim your crowd size estimates.
Yeah, I remember. So a bit of an ongoing joke with it, because I remember one year, they reported, one of the media organisations reported that 150 people rocked up to Invasion Day rally when it was, you know, like 50,000 by the end of it.
What the fuck?
And we see the underreporting of numbers. We see these passive aggressive little statements that the media make, like that, you know, despite the large crowd, there was no violence. So what they're doing there is they're framing.
Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. They're framing the fact that Indigenous people are gathering and there must be a threat of violence.
Yeah, you don't see that whenever there's an MCG crowd or anything. It's like, despite the large crowd of mostly white people, there's no violence.
Yeah. So I wish they'd leave that violence thing, because not a single one of these rallies has ever been violent. They are so peaceful.
And also, who cares if it was? Like, look at what we're celebrating. Fuck's sake.
You know, but I just like it if they could stop with the microaggressions and actually report what's going on. Like, that would be a massive win.
Yeah, right. So just back to factual reality as a fucking starting point, and we'll work from there.
Yeah, that would be great. The crowd numbers, Tom is so right, because I have written articles that have mocked this continual underreporting of the numbers that turn up. And I'm just like, be truthful.
Okay, so now it was my intention after Celeste's chat about, Invasion/Survival Day events on January the 26th to talk about something else that's also happening on January 26th. And I am going to chat about it. And some of you will have seen these events about online. You will have seen that there is an event held at Rod Laver Arena. It makes you feel like it's like a fucking Pink concert when I say it's being held at Rod Laver Arena. It's actually quite funny. Well, I don't think they intend that humour, but I think it's quite funny, the cheek of them to go, this is a white nationalist rally happening on January the 26th, by the way, and that its build is happening at Rod Laver Arena, like the fucking Taylor Swift Eras tour or something.
To be clear, it's out the front of it, isn't it? Like it's on this. It's on this.
Is it going to stand on a bit of fucking grass?
Footpath. Yeah, I first read that on the flyer, and I was like, "Fucking what?" Wait a minute.
Yeah, like Nazis have stepped up a pay grade here. This is fucking big news for Nazis.
My second thought was they've just got a rich benefactor and they've hired it, and there'll be 200 maybe in there in a huge empty arena sitting around awkward. That was my second thought. But anyway, continue.
That would be a very likely thing, wouldn't it, as well? Just like one little corporate box or something.
Yeah. With the same dips and stuff.
Left over from something that mattered. So I did want to talk about it because I do get a lot of questions about it, and as I think I've made this somewhat clear in here. I don't intend for the foreseeable future to spend a lot of or any of my time in my videos and what have you talking about things that people see as my wheelhouse when it comes to like fascists and dead shits and Nazis. I don't intend to craft video stuff on that for now. I'm going to talk about it here. You know what I mean? I'm going to use the opportunity to talk about what I've learned, in this space where I can, where it's relevant. But I'm not sure how relevant it is adjacent to a chat about Invasion Day. Because first and foremost, while there is, and I'll get into it in a sec, a white nationalist Nazi-sponsored, probably even attended event that's going to happen there, you should be going to Invasion Day. That's what I feel. Now, that's not to say that there isn't. And I'll ask you, as a pivotal figure, Celeste, in the organisation of these events, I'll ask you for I don't know if the word's official or otherwise, a take on what you think about whether people should be going to, throw eggs or rocks at their fucking cunt heads or something like that or intent. But I think first and foremost, I think the important thing is like, if you believe in place-based anti-fascism, fucking whoever you are, Indigenous, settler, whatever, if you believe in, conducting yourself as an activist based on where you fucking are, recognising whose land you're on and conducting yourself accordingly, then it so stands that you fucking oath you'll find yourself out at places like Invasion Day every year, and there's a place there's a pivotal place for anti-fascists, settler and otherwise, like being there, protecting those events. As I said to you that I've done in the past, you know what I mean? Countless fucking people have done that. You know what I mean? They've protected it, marshalled it, and all that kind of thing. So that's a really important big beast of a thing, and we need the numbers up. So fuck a small gaggle of dead shits. But, autonomous action is what it is, and everyone likes it when a Nazi gets, hurt or inconvenienced. So I can't tell the autonomous activists in Black Bloc what to do, can I? Actually, before we get on, I will ask you now, Celeste, what's your take on that subject?
And while you've been saying this, I just had a thought to myself. I believe that today is potentially the anniversary of when that dude got punched for wearing his little, what's his name? Richard Spencer. Yeah.
Oh, today is it?
I think it's today. I saw someone post it up earlier, so I'll double check. But, happy anniversary to those who celebrate. The
20th of Jan, 2017.
There you go. Wow. Oh, so it was yesterday. Well,
but like American date, Australian date, the time. I reckon
it is today. You're right.
So, look, wow. My take on that is that to me it speaks volumes with all of those years where we've had anti-fascists that have been reporting and making sure that they're keeping an eye on the fascists that are trying to mill around and cause some havoc and Invasion Day, that they feel the need to go up the road and annoy the people going to the tennis instead. So if anything, I'd say that that's a bit of a marking point in itself. And I would prefer that people packed out the numbers at Invasion Day rather than going up there and and confronting what are a group of people so pathetic that they have had to go up there in order to try and make their statement about Australia Day. they deserve confrontation. I am a strong supporter of, of taking anti-fascist action, and I always will be. But on Invasion Day itself, one of the biggest actions that you can take is to put the bodies there against the ongoing colonial project. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Totally.
Thanks for that, Celeste. They're like a blowfly to an F-16, when it comes to like size and momentum of rallies. Because really what they are is that they're mired. They're like confused white nationalists and racists mired in the failure of their own celebration of nationalism, because it doesn't even exist as a celebration anymore in Victoria. I know that's the case. There's no Australia Day parade.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dandrews got rid of it at some point, but that wasn't out of any sort of. It was only because the event was becoming ill-attended, poorly attended anyway. There just is nothing for them to do, and the only thing that's rushed in to fill its place is contrarianism, shit about hectoring Woolworths for taking hand flags out.
I was going to say, it's very funny when the fascists have just free market logic butt up against their ideology. Like, it's a culture war from Woolies and dead. No, it's just not profitable, cunt. Even the market thinks you're fucking dead shits. Like,
well, that was, exactly. That was January 26, 2024 to a T. I don't know if you recall January last year.
Yeah.
The whole fucking month. I remember doing a video about it because I was sort of, bemused / entertained by it all month. It was purely about badgering shops to perform in the way that the shop should perform.
I want my sandals. I need to buy my little sandals and cakes. Fucking losers.
All these opinions, sort of centering around it was just a very passive consumerist thing. And I think, like, these little rallies that they're doing, there's those guys. There's like another racist from the scraps and remnants of the Australian Proud Boys who's been trying to drum up a skerrick of interest on Twitter for something called an Australia Month, which is they've all got a lot.
Which month, by the way?
I know. It's like, I know what they think they're trying to do. They're trying to go, let's really go over the top into patriotism. It's funny, but it's going to drum everyone up. But they don't have the force of will or character to get that, because they're all very deadpan people. I mean, the guy who used to run the Proud Boys, who's trying to get it going, is just like from Queensland and he speaks like this. His name's Ben. And he's just a bore, They're all bores. Oh. They can't do it. So now, but the Rod Laver event, sticks out because it's going to have some, I don't know how many, but it's going to have some of these Nazis in it, and it's organised by a friend of the show, Matt Try, who runs the National Workers Alliance. And people who've listened to all the eps might recall that I put something of a call out at the end of the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
I said about my concern, and I had a genuine concern about an event that was, it seemed to me to be crossing a bit of a red line. In if we would allow it to go ahead, it was like a publicly billed fascist event, and it was to be held at the Polish Club. So you might recall me talking about that at the end of episode 1. And if you didn't hear that, then you probably might have seen some articles or coverage around. If you follow anti-fascist media in Australia, what little there is, you might have seen something about that. That event got cancelled, and it was after that, because basically the organisers, or rather the owner of the Polish Club, came under immense pressure from the Polish community in Australia, and it's my understanding that they rang around something shocking. Like they did apply pressure, and they got everyone they knew to apply pressure on him. And the guy in the end was like, "Oh, okay then," and he pulled back and he cancelled the event. And they ended up in some little hall somewhere performing for 40 people. They tried to hide the amount, but then someone ratted on them, so they ended up in a tiny little sort of like.
That's really
shed.
sad as well. If you've got massively reduced numbers that you want to hide, and even in those reduced numbers, someone rats. How would you be? How would you fucking be?
But they didn't want everyone to know how small the shed was. So they were like, oh, well, it's okay. We found another event. It's private. Which to me, I'm like, As long as you're slinking around like fucking rats you are, great. I've won. You know what I mean? It's a win. Like, fuck
Doing
you, you know,
the creative thing that bands do where they you film the mosh pit, but you film it like down near people's shoulders and you make it all really crazy so the crowd looks huge. And you're, oh, we're having so much fun. All my friends are here. It's just this.
There was actually a photo of one of the speakers. You recall, again, like I was talking about one of the speakers at this event, or you may well have seen this around. His name's Damien Richardson. He used to be a star on the Neighbours, an actor on the Neighbours, and he's basically gone via the anti-lockdown movement and Cooker rhetoric. From being a figurehead of that, he's now a Nazi spokesperson. You know, he's trying to get a thing about for, you know, fighting for the white man going. And there's a photo of him standing at this replacement shed before we found out just how small it was. And he's standing on it, and I looked at the picture, and it's got his feet are like dangling off the edge of the stage. But yet he's right against the wall, and I'm like, looks really fucking... That's weird. That's not a stage. You can't do a whole speech like on your heels of your feet balancing to not fall off. I'm like, I think that event's probably smaller than we thought. But anyway, we found out later on it was 40. So anyway, I say all that to say we like them slinking around in corners like rats. I also found out that Matt Trahey, the organizer of this group, National Workers Alliance, there was a video uploaded by anonymous well-wishers. A Black Santa character came along and defaced his office, as in like shattered the windows and sprayed some sort of like fire retardant or something like that inside the office, it was fun to see, and I hope he's okay. And then they all got hectored because he would sort of goes around the city every Saturday. If you ever see a small gaggle of cookers still going around the city with a large speaker stack, if you ever happen to be going to the city and you see these pests with red flags and a big speaker, that's them. So they actually got accosted and yelled at by some anti-fascists and through December. So that's been good to see that he's had some consequences. And leading all up to this event, you know, and so he's arranged this Rod Laver Arena event. I know that I know what I said before about how, you know, if they announce an event publicly, they must be counted. And I guess that contradicts to an extent with what we said about the pivotal importance of Invasion Day. Not that that's the priority, given that you live on this continent and place-based activism and all that kind of thing. I know all that. But again, let's just remember, these nationalist celebrations are undoubtedly on the wane. And all these parasites and rats can do is conjure up the power that racist rhetoric, racist insults, racist ideology, racist sentiment sort of gives them. They're scrounging around for a bit of power in a world that's turning against them. You know, all their heroes are dead, all their movements are on the wane, and I don't think they're going to get many people at their Rod Laver Arena event. And so they are, you know, they might be staying where they are. They might be announcing a location publicly, but they are still fundamentally rats, you know, scurrying about in the shadows. And that's the way we like them. So fuck them.
I agree. I reckon, it's our job to make sure that Nazis know that they're not welcome where we are. And if we're intentionally going somewhere to support and celebrate Indigenous resistance and they're choosing somewhere else intentionally, then they're dictating to us where we should be. And I think that kind of is counterproductive to, no, you are not welcome where we are. And then that's them dictating where they think we should be.
They do their rallies and they leave within 5 minutes. You know what I mean? That's their current strategy. If we're talking about the National Socialist Network anyway, they don't do rallies. They do
exactly
events.
They do
flash mobs
for video.
They do art theatre kid flash mobs. That's what they do
exactly for video. Yeah.
I love thinking about them all sitting there, all the boys making those signs.
I've thought about this. The Arts and Crafts Day.
Yeah.
Oh, don't discount what working out and arts and crafts can do to a man. This is the thing. You don't need therapy if you do that. You can either put it into proper political rallies and proper working out, or goes to the Nazi folk. But like, it's a thing. I mean, not joking for a second. Like, and they do have some more fucking malicious ways of doing shit. But like, they build a community. This is the thing. They grab people who feel like they have no fucking community and they get them young, and it's a type of grooming, but they offer the same types of community and, dare I say, in some instances, mutual aid. It comes with caveats. It comes with hooks. It's ultimately a different thing.
Yeah.
But that is how they sort of operate. And so it's like, it's recognizing that fact and being able to offer that from our side as well definitely fucking helps this shit. But when they finally go out there with their banner drops and all the rest of it, I think it's a very good point, Jordan, that like, it's not just like, just starve them this time. Like, we'll talk about him here and we'll let you know that it's going on, but like, don't go to the rally. Don't give them the footage of like, small groups arcing up at each other on Invasion Day, on the day of that rally. That's not for them. And they don't get to dictate why that happens. But like you said, Tom, at the same time, autonomous groups need to be autonomous. So if you were planning on going to do it, fucking Godspeed. It's still it's still a
diversity of tactics. Diversity.
Exactly.
And you know what? Some people just can't be told. Some people just can't be told.
You damn kids.
Sometimes you just don't even know who they are, and then they just go out and do something contrary. And you're like, oh, okay. I'm not, this is why we're on the left. We don't have Führers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
This is all in compliment as well with the fact that we're recording on the same day that perennial international dipshit Elon Musk threw a couple of Sig Heils on stage, Trump's inauguration, which is like, I hate feeling genuinely like existentially worried about my friends and family and even myself to a much lesser degree about the, massive potential ramifications for America falling into authoritarianism, while at the same time feeling new levels of irradiated cringe I didn't think were possible in my soul. He sucks so bad. He's so bad at anything public, at being charismatic. I hate him so much for that.
You see the face he did when he did the Sig Heil? He goes like this. He goes. It was like
it was like lovely.
A kid doing it. Yeah. It was like a kid. Kid doing a new trick on his skateboard or something like that, or like a little boy playing with trucks or something.
It's so true that it's like you tried too hard. You tried too hard. Give up. Like, stop. But once again, I apologize on behalf of white South Africans everywhere for this particular white South African.
This is the real thing.
We should end every episode with an apology from you for that, because it's not going to stop. You just need to be putting that out into the universe more and more.
Yeah, I'll just make a sign, hold it up.
Two things that sort of draw it back to Australia for me, though, was talking about media outlets, Celeste, and everything about, how maybe the ABC, the Guardian could be reporting on things a bit better. I know the ABC's been fucking dreadful the last couple of years, but just to bring home how far down the let's shape our news specifically for YouTube to get rage bait money Sky News has gone. That's their whole business model now. They did tweet out this that I managed to get a screenshot of. The headline, several media outlets have been blasted for wrongly accusing billionaire Elon Musk of making Nazi salutes during the inauguration celebration of US President Donald Trump, with the little tagline being like, bad faith. Media outlets blasted us. The stinging cynicism to put bad faith in your headline. As you say, several media outlets have been blasted. By who? Probably us and Breitbart. Have been blasted for wrongly accusing, as if it's fact.
But then there's a picture of him waving on there. It's not even the picture of the overt Hitler salute that he does, that he did. He does the whole to the heart thing, and then he turns around and does it behind him. Listen, though, we're probably being. I did learn today on Twitter that we're probably being ableist here, because it seems that this is all happening because he's a sweet neurodivergent baby.
Oh my goodness!
Did you see that? You say that one around? Oh, this is just. It's an autistic person's way of socializing or something.
And those are liberals. Those are liberals saying that.
Oh, really? Of course they are. Yeah.
It's so fucking galling for the idea that if you are autistic, then you can be fascist or you can make fascist. It's clearly in bad faith is the fucking thing. I don't really want to spend too much time talking about it, because no one is making that point in good faith, because no one is criticizing him for any neurodivergence that he has. We're criticizing the fact that he's a fucking billionaire that did a Sig Heil on stage. And if you are trying to somehow both sides this with an appeal to neurodivergence acceptance, you are a cunt. You are demonizing every single fucking person with any sort of neurodivergence. But I also saw one person say that he's a man with Asperger's, a term we do not use anymore that came from Nazi Germany.
Yes,
just to close the fucking loop on this whole
that
thing.
occurred to me too.
What a beautiful mind that came up with that fucking phrase and then typed it out and sent it off, hands on hip, being, I'm part of the Trump resistance.
I'm helping.
I'm helping. You know what?
Helping.
You know what, guys? We can criticize Nazis, but we absolutely shouldn't if I think maybe they're neurodivergent. All right?
Radical Online Leftist Pipeline Podcast presents top 10 signs your loved one might be an undiagnosed neurodivergent in need of your support. Number 1, avoiding certain social situation. Number 2, self-soothing gestures. Number 3, hailing Adolf Hitler at the biggest event of their lives. You know? Just
garbage people making that fucking claim. The last thing I just wanted to say on this too is that it is also genuinely worrying because we are seeing the media and even fucking political parties center Peter Dutton, which I'm sick of. If I get another fucking Greens email saying, hey, we got to keep Dutton out. Remember Dutton? Look at Dutton. We got to keep Dutton out. What about that? Stop talking about Dutton! Fuck you dead. But if you are genuinely worried about this, which you may have good cause to be, cannot more highly recommend organizing with a political party. I know we've talked about the limits of politics at the moment, but we could genuinely smash the two-party system next election. Political parties and groups that are trying to elect political figures have really good organizing in place already. It will focus you for a few months. You will meet some like-minded individual, and it will set you up to do some better organizing after the election. So my short-term thinking advice, practical advice that you can take away would be to go join a political organizing group of some sort for a candidate that you like, meet some like-minded people, and then after the election, because you've kept those relationships going, do something else cooler and better with those people to affect change outside of Parliament. But for this election, let's get rid of the two-party system. Let's weaken their hold on things so we can stop fucking talking about Dutton and Albo and the rest of them. Make some change outside of Parliament, bully some independents into giving us the change that we fucking deserve and that we need. And then we can shore up some things about international oligarchs and even the fucking really pathetic oligarchs we have here, like Gina Reinhart and Clive Palmer. That's my spiel.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then you take what you learnt during that. That was your little practice organising. Then you take it to your workplace. You take it to your community. You take it to your street. And then we take over the world.
Listener emails. We've got some emails in. If you want to send us an email, alpdotgov@proton.me, proton.me. And if you've got a question for us, clarification, whatever else, send it through. We'd love to read it out. We got this email through from Liam. It was a very nice email. I'm not going to read all of it, but the thrust of the email was, where do we all get our news from? Tom, where do you get news information?
I mean, it's very diffused, and it has to be very diffused, doesn't it? You know, like, for example, I go, oh, if it's tech news these days, currently, I get it from Ed Zitron, you know.
His
just,
podcast
he's
is
just
great.
someone that comes to, fucking oath. He's brilliant, isn't he? If it comes to localized, for example, rental stuff or what have you, I listen to one of the other co-hosts of this podcast, you know, and so I don't have a list of these shortcuts off my head by now. I can certainly supply them. We could put them in writing afterwards or something. You know what I mean?
We'll get a little
I love
news
this
doc going.
question. Yeah. I really like the question. I like the notion of answering where I'm currently looking at. So let me. I just, you know, it's unfortunately, it's like there isn't many media outlets, and certainly very minimal ones in Australia that I think are uniformly reliable for much of anything, you know. There are journalists that I like, though, in much the same way that I might name an independent figure like Ed, as I just mentioned, or what have you. There are journalists who I trust the work of and will follow, but they can move from outlet to outlet, can't they? So I'll have a think about it. I will respond, and perhaps we can put this up in text form. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a bit like Tom, I used to be an avid news site watcher. Like I'd have the browser tabs open with ABC, The Age, SBS, even news.com.au. I'd have them all going. I very rarely do that now. And mainly I'm getting most of my news feed via Instagram nowadays. So I've actually followed independent media orgs or Al Jazeera or certain sections of the ABC or whatever else, just in order to maybe curate what I'm getting. Maybe that's a bad thing or not, but similarly, the news industry is one that has been decimated by casualization and we've seen a lot of these old sort of legacy style media people just lose their jobs and organizations becoming more reliant on freelance labor, people that they don't have to hire and they can pay a one-off fee to. And the other part of it too is Unfortunately, I've got a master's in communications and media studies. So one of the other things I'm incredibly aware of is that our news is very driven in this country by the marketplace and the media organizations will respond according to we'll respond to stories and spin them how they like according to what revenue they can pull in via advertisers. So it's made me very careful. It's made me hyper aware. I see product placement on Netflix all the damn time. And so curating via social media is probably the best answer I've got at this point in time.
We used to have socialist press, we used to have anarchist press in the 1920s. We used to have that broke news, that used to just do what the news does, but with, a class analysis lens and all that kind of thing. This is why this is happening. This is what you can do about it, that kind of stuff. We don't have shit anymore in terms of the media. It's all liberal to, far right and conservative in between. So it's really difficult to get your news. And we do have some leftist publications that I read, but they don't break news in any sense. They occasionally they'll receive a leak from someone in some industry, and that might be the closest that they come to breaking news. But it's very individualized at the moment. I have a curated social media following that includes 6 News. Shout out to those guys.
I'm gonna say they're killing it.
They are actually doing good reporting. No class analysis, but I don't expect them to.
Well, it's really weird. It's really weird to see. If anyone doesn't know, 6 News, Channel 6 News is genuinely youth-based news reporting.
Literal children.
I friggin' love them. Oh,
they're incredible.
So I remember when I first heard about Leo, he was the originator of it. He was doing
He's 18 now though, the bastard.
Get out. Death comes for us all, cunt. The first stuff that he was doing was local reporting in his area of soccer matches and stuff and little bits. And he was always trying with the sort of, the presenter voice. He was taking it seriously very early on. But to come from reporting on bake sales and soccer matches to then be reporting the fall of Syria before ABC does is fucking intense.
And better than as well.
So this is the thing. They are so plugged into the internet that they get breaking news much quicker than the other places. They report it out quicker. But like you said, they don't have a class analysis, and they don't. But I feel like so many other places, most other legacy media, comes with quite a clear bias to, you said, Celeste, advertisers. So it's so refreshing to see these people be like, no, this is just what happened. This is as best as we can. We're acknowledging our bias, but as best as we can, this is just what we think happened in simple terms. And people lose their fucking mind that it's biased one way or the other. And it's like, no, there is no analysis in this. You're just used to clickbait headlines from the ABC being like, Musk did this weird thing with his hands. Why are leftists so upset? And it's like, fucking, that's a class analysis. It's a subtle one, but like it's making a claim about the world. So yeah, shout out Channel 6, love them. They're genuinely a really good source of news.
I also do want to say that I acknowledge that if Channel 6 News was doing class analysis, it'd be fucking weird.
What do you know? Your kids.
Yeah, but like people don't want that. That's a me thing that I would prefer, and so I can seek that elsewhere, or like figure that out myself, and whatever. Most people don't want that, and that's totally fair. But yeah, like seeing news without the bias that we're used to is weird, and it's refreshing, and it's sick, and I hope they just grow massively.
Yeah.
The thing for me is, like, I still do occasionally do what you said, Celeste, like have all the different tabs open. And there's a Chrome extension where you can go to archive web pages, and it's got all the web pages you needed, even if they're behind a paywall. And like I'll go on to, I don't go to ABC anymore because it's turned into clickbait shit and it's very reactionary. The Guardian is still okay, and they're good sources of information. The Age is all right. Australian Financial Review, Financial Places, Financial Times, stuff like that. They're actually pretty good because the market really needs the truth. They will couch it in very neoliberal terms where it will all be money focused, but you'll at least get reporting where it's like, fuck, the market needs to know what's actually going on with this so we can make our evil plans accordingly. So they're usually not bad. Channel 6, like I said, AP is still good as well. Al Jazeera come through sometimes. But the thing for me, I've also got a curated social media feed with news orgs and independents, but I think the thing for me that I do now is I go to different places to pick up on the vibe of the world just as much as the information. So I can go to, Washington Post and New York Times to see what the neoliberal centrist consensus is forming around certain issues. And then you've got right-wing stuff, like wouldn't bother with Sky News anymore, but Sydney Morning Herald and The Age and stuff is like, all right, what is the right-wing news org that is trying to make itself populist? What are they doing? What do the leftists want? And you sort of get a vibe of the state of play. And then from that, you just have to be aware of that vibe and sort of try to tease that apart from the facts of the information. And usually if you see the story reported in 3 or 4 different places, you can usually gain enough of the raw information that those good faith places are still having to report. Because there is a huge difference between a place like Sky News saying, like, Elon Musk has been he's blasted news sites for wrongly reporting. That's biased. It's bullshit. But if but a bunch of places still have to report enough of the truth, so they'll go, he made this gesture that looks pretty weird, funny looking little arm movement. Yeah, and you'll pick up the facts from that. But if anyone has any good suggestions that are listening now and you're screaming at the podcast that we haven't mentioned them, alpdotgov@proton.me. I want to hear about some really cool places, especially the independent journalists. We will we should get a list going. We'll put it up. We don't have a website, but whatever. We'll put it on social media, put a link through to we've
got a link tree actually.
Yeah.
I was pop it on the link tree.
Yeah, we'll just make an unsecured Google Doc and we'll fucking just let's also have it so anyone can edit it. No, that's a bad idea.
I'll have shitrentals.org started out as two Google spreadsheets in a trench coat. That's what Jim Marlowe described it as.
Shout out to Jim. Tanaki said as well, like, good journalists that you sort of cohere with and you find yourself like, Jim Marlowe, great stuff. Keep
doing your best, buddy. Love you.
All right, like I said, if you want to send us an email, alpdotgov@proton.me. Also, let us know if that email's too annoying. It's a fun joke for me. We could probably change it to a different one, but I really like it.
We will wear this out till it dies, but you have to tell us that it's dead.
And share us with everyone, and we'll see you at the Invasion Day rallies.